You're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuno here, and we are back with episode 53 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. And I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I had to think a little bit about everything that's going on. It's actually been very good, though, overall. Like, we got the rental car rented out finally. That's been one good thing. It's been ups and downs, though, I guess, because the house I'm trying to sell back in Indiana is going through a couple of things right now, like with the appraiser, trying to get something torn down because they're saying it's not permitted. So they're trying to elongate that process. It's supposed to close September 2nd, but probably not going to do that. So, but it is what it is overall. Like, once it sells, it's going to be sold, and just moving forward with that. I'm still looking for a house out here, too. That's been a whirlwind because Houston loves to overprice everything, I swear. It's been crazy, but I guess not. The main thing for me, though, is that I'm very excited to have all the extra free time that I do now, because I'm about to start doing a lot more, like especially with our platform, Money Monopolizers. I think we're going to try to revamp the website. We're going to try to start incorporating new features on there as well. So stay tuned for that, because I'm very excited to just be able to have more time to allocate toward this type of stuff, because I think this is going to really allow us to give back to our people in more ways than one, and then allow us to also build our personal brand as well. So I'm looking forward to that particular aspect of my life right now a lot, because I see a lot of potential for this podcast, and I'm really trying to keep scaling it forward. So how you been, though?
Oh, man, that's good, though. I'm doing good. Life is good, man. I just got back from Mexico. So shout out to all the people out in Mexico that I met. That was a super good time. I definitely plugged the podcast out there, so you know what I'm saying. Hopefully we got a couple new listeners tuned in this week. But it was a good time. It was like 5 days out there. Went with a couple of friends, so it was really good to get away, especially just being in this grind for like a year pretty much straight since my last vacation, which was like last August when I went to Hawaii. So I think just being able to take some time off and kind of unwind and just not worry about the pressure of achieving financial freedom, because that's pretty much all that goes through my head daily whenever I'm not relaxing, which is very infrequent. So having that time off was really nice. Out there ATVing, jet ski, zip lining, everything. It was cool. And another cool thing too is, one reason I really love, this whole financial freedom and this whole aspect of achieving financial freedom and being a business owner and those kind of things is the advantages able to take the things are able to take advantage of. So for example, I mean, when I was going to Mexico, I knew, just because I read in the past, and I'm, very in tune with all things, taxes and accounting and those kind of things in terms of being able to reduce my tax liability. As a business owner, you can travel and get your, flights and hotels, cars, meals, anything, those kind of things written off as taxes, or written off during taxes as business expenses, or as business related travel expenses, right? So if you're traveling for business purposes, you can, get those tax write-offs. So me being the forward thinker that I am, I, a couple weeks ago set up some appointments to go and check out properties out in Mexico. And I definitely took advantage of that. So, those days when I was checking out property, I was able to count, the price for the Airbnb for those nights. I don't know, as far as like the flight, how that's going to be prorated for that. Because obviously you can't deduct every day, because every day wasn't a business day. That would be tax fraud. But for those days where I was doing some sort of business activity, then I'm able to deduct for those days. So, and I got the track record to prove it in the case of an audit. So, we good money over here. that was a lot. But yeah, that's something I'm excited, to be able to do. And I think that's what I'm going to do every year moving forward for vacations. Make sure I'm, checking out properties wherever I'm at. So definitely, that was fun. That was fun. But yeah,
I want to comment on that because that's just, I think it's just really important to point out that with all of this that we be going through like 24/7, like every day we're thinking about some aspect of one of our businesses, whether it's through podcasts, one of the businesses that we've set up, or whether it's like just through real estate. We're doing so much like just day in and day out trying to achieve financial freedom at an early age that is very taxing on our bodies and our minds. So it's very important to be able to wind down every now and again. I know we spoke with Annalisa last time we did the podcast about that. Understand that there's, even though we're trying to achieve financial freedom at an early age and doing a lot of sacrificing, it's important to still find time to make time for yourself and then for your personal sanity. So being able to travel like that when you want to is a big plus just to everything that we've done already, and then still being smart about it and writing off different taxes or different having different write-offs just by being intentional about how you spend your time while you're there is very good too. So just everything that we've learned along the way has been able to pay off even while we're vacationing.
Yes. And one other thing too, two other things I want to comment on. On that vacation, I made money every day while I was on that vacation. I had money literally getting deposited into my account every single day while I was on vacation. That is what financial freedom is. Being able to travel. I think I made close to $1,500 while I was away. So that's what financial freedom is. The essence of what it is. That right there is the essence of what it is. So it's very key to say that everything we do is very intentional. Even so, to the fact that even a year ago, after I went to Hawaii, I told myself for my next vacation, I'm not going to pay for any of the stuff because I was going to use the tax write-offs, and number two, credit card hacks. So obviously using credit cards and getting the travel reward points is very, that's a huge thing. If you're smart with credit cards, if you're full with credit cards and you don't know, how to, spend other people's money, don't do it. But if you're good with credit cards, that's a great thing to take advantage of. I didn't pay for my flight. I had a rental car for 5 days. I didn't pay for nothing except the insurance. I mean, dude, the stuff is out there. So I just want people to be aware of that kind of stuff, be cognizant of that stuff, because you can take advantage of it if you just do things smart and you do things with intention and plan. Then you could live a great life and not pay the cost that everybody else does.
Exactly. So,
yes. But anyways, we wanted to keep the intro short, but stuff like that. So
10 minutes later, let's get to the episode.
I said before, I was like, we're gonna keep it 5 minutes. Sorry. Oh well, that's good info. But anyways, let's get into this episode now. So this episode will kind of be a little different than how we have done it. Not too much different, but just in terms of kind of like the style of the show. We kind of got it's like a game show kind of thing. I should have thought of a name for it. Oh well. But we're pretty much going to be talking about, the 10 principles to financial freedom, right? So me and Marlon each wrote down 5 principles that we believe are key to achieving financial freedom. We did not discuss either of these principles with each other. I don't know what he wrote. He doesn't know what I wrote. But I'm more than positive we have a few that overlap. And that being said, I mean, that's to emphasize the fact that, these things that we're about to speak on are very key and they're very important, especially the ones that are gonna overlap. I don't know which ones are gonna overlap. Hopefully some overlap. But even if not, it's still it's gonna be great information. But yeah, that's kind of the format of this episode. I know we wanted to kind of each stick to kind of 5 minutes. We talk. Stop smiling. We talk.
See how the intro went already.
Yeah. I bring up my first point. I talk 5 minutes on it. He brings up his first point. He talks. Or if I say it and it overlaps, then you can just go to whichever point you had that overlapped at, and you can speak on what you kind of think about in that regard and why we think it's important and what exactly that point means. So we're definitely gonna try to. We got the timer ready to go, 5 minutes. So Marlon, I need you to hold me to that.
I'll be letting you know. I'll let you know when it's 1 minute. Then I'll just let you know when it's 0.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's going to kind of, because I could talk about this kind of stuff for 80. But yeah, before we do get started, I do want to mention briefly what financial freedom is if you are a new listener. Financial freedom is the ability to survive without having to trade in your time for money, the ability to be able to continue living your life the way you want to live without having to trade in your time for money, meaning without having to work a job. So that's essentially what that means for us. Like I said, I was on vacation for 5 days. I still made money. In essence, you could say that is, I mean, I'm not saying I'm financially free, but we on the way. So,
Yeah, let's get on. Let's get started. I got the timer ready.
yep. All right. Bet. Principle number one, I got living below your means and spending less than you earn. That is level one of personal finance. I would just say before we even get to the rest, if you don't get this one principle, the rest is pointless. The rest don't even matter. Like because this is extremely, extremely key, right? Because the thing about this is living below your means and spending less than you earn, it's going to tell me exactly if you're serious about financial freedom or if you're BSing. Because where your money is going from every paycheck, that tells me all I need to know. What are you spending your money on? Is your money is all your surplus money going to, BS? Going out every weekend, buying shoes every weekend, whatever the case may be, stuff that you don't need. Is it going to that, or is it going towards your financial future? Are you investing it? Are you saving it to invest? Are you starting a business with it? What are you doing? And the thing is, this looks different for everybody because look, personal finance is personal for a reason. We say that a lot. It looks different for everyone. Someone on a $60,000 salary spending $20,000 is a lot different from someone on $100,000 salary spending 80,000, right? That person that makes 60 spending 20 is a lot better off than the person making 100 spending 80, right? Because it don't matter about what you make, it's about what you are keeping in a sense, right? What's that difference, right? And so this all goes into lifestyle or income creep. So lifestyle creep, income creep is whenever your income increases as your or your lifestyle increases as your income increases, right? So for this pretty much is saying you have to act poor even if you have money, right? That's what in essence this means. And I just look at myself, right? I live in a garage apartment, and drive. Oh, the garage. I own the house of the garage apartment, and the house has $20,000 in equity. I should mention that. But I live in the garage apartment and drive a paid off 2009 Mazda 3, even though I don't have to, right? But I'm trying to keep my lifestyle low as my income increases so that I can reach financial freedom sooner. Because if your lifestyle is low but your income increases, what does that mean? That means, well, like I said, financial freedom is how much money you need to live, or how much money you have coming in to live off to cover your expenses. So if your expenses are low, you don't need as much money coming in, and you'll be financially free sooner, right? A lot of self-made millionaires, they slowly become millionaires by learning how to manage and multiply money as it comes, as opposed to a lot of rich people. Rich people aren't necessarily wealthy because they just come into money quickly and don't have the skills and really the knowledge needed to manage it and multiply and invest it, right? So in essence, all of this ties back into delayed gratification. Wealth, wealthy people buy luxuries last. Poor people buy them first. It's delayed gratification. Like I said, people that are on their way in the book, The Millionaire Next Door, right? Well, I'll say this before I mention that. You need to own the luxuries. They should not be owning you. That's the difference between poor people that have, quote unquote, nice things or middle class people and wealthy people that have those nice things. You have to prioritize financial freedom over showing that social status to people that do not care about your social status whatsoever. Prioritize that financial freedom. I promise it's going to be way more fulfilling than showing off to people that are, at the stoplight that don't care nothing about you, right? Because I always think about, and this is a book I highly recommend to everybody read, is The Millionaire Next Door. That book is essentially about them interviewing millionaires and seeing kind of how their lives, how they became millionaires. And whenever they brought the people over to interview them, like all the millionaires, the people that wrote the book, they set up like a fancy dinner with like gourmet steaks and wines and all this stuff. And the millionaires got there, they ain't even want none of the fancy food. All they wanted was like the crackers and stuff because that's what they was already used to. And that's essentially what I'm not saying you have to be, frugal in that sense once you achieve that millionaire status, but the mindset that just shows that the mindset is there and it doesn't necessarily change, even when you become that millionaire. It can if you have the ability to change it, but it doesn't need to. So,
5.
That's what I think is the most fundamental, foundational part of. He didn't think I was gonna do it in 5 minutes.
Oh, that was a good one. Right at 5 minutes too. You did good.
I told you.
He's so proud. All right. No, that was good though, and I think my number one point complements that very well because you said living below your means, but my number one is developing a why. Reason being is because you're not going to live below your means if you have no reason to do so. And so most people need to first develop a why in order to start being intentional about how they utilize and allocate their money when it comes into their life. And so the first thing I want to say was you need to first take inventory on where you currently are in your life and where you ultimately want to be. If you are not where you want to be in your life, you need to start making changes. And typically in this capitalist society, it's going to require money to get where you want to be. And so that means you need to start allocating your money in a different fashion than what you currently are if you want to get to where you haven't been before. And like people always say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So you can't hope to achieve financial freedom, especially at an early age, if you're going to live like everybody else in society currently is. You have to do things that are very different than what most people are doing in order to achieve things most people won't achieve. And so one thing I always think about when I'm talking about developing a why refers to back when I was playing football. Before every single game, I used to listen to Eric Thomas. And there was a video that he had. The video is called Resiliency Motivational Video. You can check it out on YouTube. But what he does, he's commentating over that video. And he talks about Buster Douglas. The fight that he had with Mike Tyson, and he talks about how life is going to hit you in your mouth, and your why has to be greater than any knockdown that you ever get, because in life you're going to get knocked down many times, and even your why has to be strong enough to keep you going despite your knockdown. And so in this case, Buster Douglas, his mom, before the fight was telling everybody, hey, my son's going to beat Mike Tyson. My son's going to beat Mike Tyson. 2 days before the fight, Buster Douglas' mother had died. And so now Buster Douglas, he had a decision that he had to make in his life, because as soon as he got into the ring with Mike Tyson, like the first couple of rounds, the dude got knocked out. He was knocked down, then he managed to get back up and went over to their separate corners. And then at this point, Buster Douglas has to think about it. He's like, man, I need to get back out there. And why am I even out here? Like, I'm out here fighting for my mother. And that's was allowed him to be able to muster up the courage in order to go back out there. And he actually knocked Mike Tyson out and ended up winning the fight. And that's because his why was greater than any knockdown that he could have had in that moment. He was thinking about what his mom was telling him, saying, my son's going to beat Mike Tyson. He ended up manifesting that in his own life and believing that he could do it, and basically allowing his why to motivate him to do so. And so I listened to that before every single football game, because I understand that a why is something that's going to usually propel you forward and allow you to start thinking differently. So now to bring that back over to financial freedom piece, people need to usually have some type of why in order to start, like I said, start allocating their money better, because like Alex mentioned, you'll probably go through this thing called lifestyle creep or income creep if you don't have any why for yourself. We see it countless times when people start making money, they just inevitably spend more money because they have no ultimate goals for themselves. They're just going through the motions and living for every moment. They're not forward thinkers and thinking, I need to build something for my lineage. I need to create businesses that I can pass down to my family so they don't have to work. They're not thinking on those lines. They're thinking of, I need to just survive for the day. And if you think on those lines, you're never going to be you're never going to set yourself up for a future success, or set your lineage up for future success. And I'll just give you like some tangible goals. One could just be saving for a down payment on a house. Just because you have a goal in mind, now you'll be more intentional about what you do with your money. You're going to be like, okay, so if a down payment costs, I don't know, $10,000. I need to save maybe $1,000 a month in order to over the course of a year in order to obtain that. But now you have a goal in mind in order to achieve your ultimate goal, which is that down payment for that house. And it's the same thing with anything else. Like for us, I know that when we wanted our down payment, we said, okay, I'm gonna set aside 70% of my monthly income in order to be able to save up that down payment and closing costs within 6 months, because I knew that when I was working at Johns Hopkins, I'm going to need to save my money up quick, because when I get to Purdue, I'm not going to have no more money left. So I need to be able to have this money right now in order to save for that down payment. And that just now compounds on itself, because now that house is going to pay me in order to fund my next house, and I can save money by house hacking. So it just compounds on itself, and that's the ultimate goal of developing a why.
Okay. Well, did it. That's a really good, I think, preface to what I said too. Because I would say that you need to have that before, obviously, you even. I mean, they're really kind of hand in hand. So they do really intertwine really well. But yeah, I agree. That's extremely, extremely important. That why is going to push you when stuff gets trash, which it will. And when stuff gets hard, you're going to need to lean on something to say, okay, I'm not doing it for this, short term, whatever reason. I'm doing it for this deep down reason that I really want to achieve this. So that's very important. Okay, cool. So moving on to point number 2, you need to be investing the difference between what you earn and what you spend. So I talked about living below your means first. That is very key, because, the reason we say to live below your means is because you need to invest that difference, right? You cannot save your way to financial freedom. It is mathematically impossible. Not possible. Episode 36, go listen to it. Think about it too. If you need $50,000 to live, $50,000 a year to live, and you save $500,000 in 30 years, how long is it going to take you before you got to go back to work? You're going to be back to work in 10 years. So that's, to me, that's the definition of wealth. Wealth is the amount of time you can survive without working for money, right? So that's the most important, step in, like, practical step, is being able to invest. You can't be saving, because savers are losers. And I really want to get this point across, because a lot of people don't understand why savers are losers. So I'm even going to use some of my time to explain this, right? Because the government is keeping interest rates extremely low, right? There's 2 reasons: inflation, and the government is keeping interest rates extremely low, right? The federal funds rate, that is what we've been hearing over the past 3 months, has been decreasing. That's the rate that banks lend government money to each other, right? So the government gives them money that they can lend amongst each other, right? So they're lending this at a certain rate, which is the federal funds rate. So that means they have to pay you less than that rate for them to be able to still come out on top, right? In the 1970s, the federal funds rate was like 15 to 20%. Just based off of the numbers that I saw when I did the research for this, right? So that means they could give you 7% of your, on your money, and they'd still be fine. Back in the day, you could put money in a bank and get 7%. Do you know what it is today? In 2020, the federal funds rate is 0.25%. Bruh. And the average interest rate in a savings account is 0.09%. Bruh. Meaning, if you have $5,000 in the bank, you're making $4.50 per year on that money. Bruh. Garbage. We don't want that. You have to invest, right? Because I told this story in episode 2. I'm going to tell it again. There's a reason that Chase gives out those lollipops when you go to the bank, right? You go to the bank and you say, hey, I would like to, deposit $5,000 into my savings account. The teller's like, oh, sure, great, no problem. Here's the deposit slip. Just write down what you want to put, and we'll put your money in the bank. Chase then takes your money, puts it in the bank, in their bank account, and you can see it right there. Hey, it's FDIC insured too, so no matter what happens to us, you'll still have your money. And then they'll take your money, give you 0.09% in that savings account, and lend that money out at 5% on an auto loan, or right now 3% on a home mortgage, right? So you walk out the bank and you think you're happy, and they're like, hey, don't forget to grab a dum-dum, you dum-dum. So it's very important, it's very key that you're not putting your money in the savings account. Money has to work for you. Every dollar you earn is a soldier. Soldiers are meant to go to work. Soldiers aren't meant to be chilling in the crib, just sitting in the bank account, nice and protected. And like I said, this is why we say you have to live below your means. You have to put your money to work. How do you put your money to work? You put your money to work through buying income, which buying income is investing in real estate, in stocks, in bonds, in CD. Well, I wouldn't even say a CD. That's pretty trash investment in my opinion. But those kind of things is putting your money to work. Your money goes out and it recruits more soldiers and it brings them back with them. All right. That's investing. You can create income, which is starting a business. Right. So, creating those systems and spending the money to develop systems is what that means. Right. Or you can, and that's personally my favorite way, that and then investing my money after that, the business income. We talked about that in episode 50 on my strategy to building wealth. Or you can even lend out money. So this is peer-to-peer lending is one of the greatest ways to get a great return on your money because it's very convenient and it's very easy, especially if you trust the person, right? Essentially what that is just putting your money in a different bank account. Because I talked about how somebody lent us $115,000, someone that I met last year, to buy a house. She makes 10% interest on her money, easiest money in her life. She's making $1,000 a month on that money. That's what putting your money to work means. So that's what you got to be doing.
1.
This fool right here doing excellent. I got to applaud you. Just give you a standing ovation. I'm actually surprised we haven't had one overlap already because for me, number 2 is reverse engineering your goals. And so this is pretty much means starting with the end in mind. So when you first are getting into any type of new endeavor, you should always start with your end goal. This is kind of synonymous with your why. Like this is going to be the ultimate thing that you're looking to achieve, whether it's financial freedom, whether it's creating generational wealth, whether it's achieving a certain amount of passive income, whatever that looks like for you. You need to have that goal in mind first. That's like the top. That's like the pinnacle, the top of the mountaintop type goal that you need to be looking to achieve. And then from there, understand that there's a road to get there. So it's like driving down a road. And if you want to get to, say, if I want to get to Reliance Stadium from where I currently live, I need to know that I can't just drive a straight line to get there. There's going to be different turns I need to take in order to get there, different highways I need to take in order to get there. I can't just drive a straight line. I need to drive on different roads in order to get there. And so in this case, let's use an analogy. Let's use an example that I would do for myself. If my goal is to achieve financial freedom by age 29, what you need to start doing is answering a series of questions. And I use 29 because that's 5 years away from where I currently am. And that would simplify some of the math that I'm going to do during my example. And so like I said, you need to ask yourself a series of questions. First of all, you need to ask, what does that look like for you? So if financial freedom for me is just replacing my current job income with a purely passive income. So passive income is money that I don't have to work for. It comes in whether I work for it or not. And so for me, I'm just looking to get around $5,000 a month in passive income to replace my 9 to 5. But this is only level 1 financial freedom. You can achieve $50,000 in passive income, but just understand this is like the base ground level. And I'm trying to make this visual for just an average everyday person listening out there, because you may not want to achieve 50,000. You may want to just achieve 5,000, and that's something that sounds feasible to you for you to get started. It may change along the way, but ultimately just understand that the most important factor is to get started. And so now, once you know what it looks like, the next question you ask yourself is, how do you achieve this? And now you start putting a plan in place. Now you say, okay, I need multiple streams of income, and that can come through with both investing and starting businesses. So I can invest in real estate and start different businesses in order to build up the passive income to $5,000 per month. Okay, so now from there, after you know how do you achieve it, now you start looking at what are the feasible numbers I can achieve from each individual stream of income in order to obtain the ultimate $5,000 per month. This looks like, so now if you look at each individual avenue that I've taken so far, let's just look at it. For instance, if I wanted to do all rental units, I know that in real estate you can probably cash flow roughly $200 per rental unit, and that's just in cash flow after you pay for all your expenses. So with that being, keeping that in mind, if I only make $200 per unit, that means I would need 25 units in total in order to achieve that $5,000. Likewise, if I did all rental cars and I was cash flowing $400 per month from each rental car, I would need roughly 13 rental cars. And then lastly, if I did like if I created a course, like an online course where I taught about budgeting or taught about how to start in real estate investing, and I charge $50 per person, I would probably, I would need 100 people per day in order to achieve that $5,000 per month. The beauty about this is that with multiple streams of income, you don't need to have 100 people per day for that course. You don't need to have 13 rental cars. You don't need to have 25 doors. You can have a combination of all three of those, or you can add on more different streams of income in order to achieve that financial freedom number. And so, like, let's look at a combo. What if I did 5 rentals at that total $1,000K in 1 month? What if I had 5 rental cars that total $2K per month because I have 400 times 5? And then what if I only sold to 40 people that $50 course? That's another 2,000. All three of those together would total up to 5,000 in total. And then from moving on from there, is how quickly should I acquire these? If I'm 24, that means I only need 1 rental per year, 1 car per year, and I can start selling the e-course right now. And literally, I can just be making money on that just by scaling it slowly but surely. And then lastly is how much do I need to get started? Now you start looking into more details. If I want to house hack to get all 5 of my rental properties, I need 3.5% as a down payment and plus closing costs. If I want to do a rental car, I probably need 0 to 10% based on my credit. If I want to do an e-course, I can use Gumroad, and that's actually free to get started, or you can do $10 a month. Ultimately, just after you know all of this, the whole goal is to get started. That is literally
5,
like once you have the
4,
roadmap, it's just about
3,
getting in that car and starting driving from there.
1.
Got it. That's very, very key. I think, man, I'm surprised we haven't had the same point yet. But that's, I mean, they're all good points. That's very important stuff to know. I think that was a more so, in terms of getting intentional about it, that's very important in setting those milestones and those goals along the way. So yeah. And by the way, all these things that we're saying, just because they might not be the same exact thing, but it's stuff that we've already done. So it's not necessarily saying that any of them is nothing that's like you shouldn't do, because it's like we've done all the stuff. So very good point. So let's move on to the third one. I think that people need to understand that you should only take on debt that will make you money. So understand that the American dream is a debt trap, right? Because what does the American dream actually mean for most people, right? It's different for, I'm not going to get into that, but for immigrants versus, citizens, it looks different. But in the end of the day, it's a debt trap no matter what, right? They say go to school, aka take on debt, get a job to pay off the debt. And then they say, hey, you need a car to look like everyone else, aka take out some more debt. Go to work to pay off that debt. And then they say, oh, wait, you also need a house too, because that's what you're supposed to do. So take out more debt. And then go to work to pay off that debt, right? Sounds like a scam to me. But that's what everybody does. That is what society tells you is the right thing to do, when in reality, all you're doing is putting yourself in the rat race. You don't want to do that. It's very important to be aware of these things before you get into the debt, what it is, right? Because you got to understand 2 things about a free market like the way we live in today. You're either a consumer or you're a producer. That's the first thing. The second thing is that debt is what makes the world go round. Consumers use debt or money to buy things for themselves, right? Meaning liabilities. Everything I just mentioned above, that's a liability. Producers use debt to buy things that other people will consume, which are assets for them, right? And free markets just favor the producers. Producers are rewarded with people and money working for them and also paying less taxes, while the consumers have to take out debt and then have to go to work for the rest of their lives to pay it off, right? And then on top of that, you're going to get taxed by the government for the money that you just worked for. So if you're a consumer, you got. You will get got if you're the last person to consume something. And this just goes into good debt versus bad debt. Good debt, aka leverage, is a lot different. Don't listen to people that say there's no such thing as good debt. That's illogical. It's completely wrong, because debt is what makes the world go round. You should actually strive to be in good debt, right? Bad debt is anything that, if you're the last person to consume something and you're the paying to consume it, that's bad debt. A car you finance, to own and drive yourself is bad debt. That's actually the worst debt that you can get into. A house that you mortgage to own and live in is bad debt. Yes, that means your house is not an asset. Although it goes up in value, it's not an asset. Don't fall for that trap. It's not an asset. That's how you. That's a very simple-minded way. You're not going to become wealthy if you believe your house is an asset. Good debt means that someone else is the last person to consume it, and they pay you to consume that item, right? Now, on the flip side, a car that you finance and you rent out to someone else to drive, that's good debt. A house that you mortgage to rent out and let someone else live in is good debt, right? So we talk about house hacking all the time. House hacking turns your house into an asset, right? A rental car turns a car into an asset in a way. It's still, you can argue that, it depreciates, but at the end of the day, it's making you money, right? So I love to use the example with the 100K example, right? If you have $100,000 and you want to invest in real estate, you could either, buy one house, pay all cash for it and have no debt, or you could, buy 5 houses with $20,000 down. Which would you do? I'm taking the latter, which is the leverage in buying 5 houses, right? Because now with those 5 houses, I get the benefits of having number one, I control now, 500,000 worth of assets as opposed to $100,000 worth, right? And that's the beauty about real estate. You don't have to own the asset to control it. I mean, you only have to own a percentage to control the entire asset. You get to control what's done with it. You get the appreciation on all 5. You get the tax benefits on all 5. You get the income on all 5. You get the equity and loan pay down by the tenants. You're not the one paying it down. It's somebody else, right? So just taking those things into consideration is very key, because good debt will allow you to reach financial freedom a lot sooner than anyone else that is taking the slow way of avoiding debt, right? Because debt allows you to scale. Now, of course, you have to be responsible with debt. Can't get over leveraged. Even if it's good debt, you can still get in trouble. Ask a bunch of commercial real estate investors right now. You can get in trouble because if nobody's paying for those things, hey, the bank still want their money. So it's important to know that. That's my third principle as to why or what you need to achieve financial freedom.
This dude is hitting out the park today. I'm proud. But I'm very surprised we haven't had one overlap. But I kind of see a theme here between like mine is more mindset, yours is definitely more of financial. I think that's kind of what the theme I'm seeing here. But no, it's all good points though, because I think we've implemented all of these, all 10 of them that we have written down in our own personal lives. So it's all good information though, and that was definitely one. But I think that falls heavily on knowing yourself and being able to understand how to operate with using debt, because people usually some people have bad habits that they need to break before they want to start going into more debt, whether it's good or bad, because some people don't need to understand how to manage it and be able to pay for it when they do have it. So that's something to keep in mind. And so let's move on to my third point, which is self-education. Now, I don't know if you had that one or not, but this is the one I said that I thought you would have, because I know how big you are on this. So, but self-education essentially is just understanding that everything that you learned in school is not necessarily going to be beneficial to you if you want to start scaling your lifestyle at an early age to the financial freedom type level. Like you may be able to go buy a nice car, but who's paying for that car? Are you paying for the car, or do you have other assets that are paying for that car for you? That's the type of mindset that we are approaching different liabilities with. I'm not finna buy a liability if I have to personally pay for it every month. I'm only gonna buy a liability if liability is anything taking money out your pocket if somebody else is paying for it, whether it's an asset that I own or whether it's some type of tenants. I mean, anything. Somebody else is paying for that though. I'm not going to be the one, because that means that's going to be money that I can't utilize on building more wealth for myself and for my lineage. But I would say that we've talked about this all the time. This generation has the potential to make more millionaires than any other previous generation before this one. And that's through different avenues such as Google, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. All this information out here is honestly free. There's so much free information that we have out here in order to get started with real estate investing. And even other things like other business avenues, they are still low cost. I just bought a rental car course for $40, and that it's about to make me $200 in cash flow in the first month. That is literally 500% return on investment. Like, what school are you going to where you accrue $50,000 in student loan debt and you come out making $250,000 the first month? You just somebody got to provide me some show me the statistic on that. How many people are making that much money coming from just because they went into that debt at school? And that's the equivalent. That's what I'm talking about with self-education. Like, it's important to understand that even paying for education that you plan on using, like to start a business, that's not even as bad as paying for going into the debt that people go into for school, because more often than not, you're probably going to see that return on investment if you implement those strategies, and you'll see that return on investment much quicker than you ever would at the university or institution that you went to go get into all that debt. Not knocking institutions, but I do want people to understand that in going into that massive amount of debt, you should really be seeing a large return on your investment. You shouldn't be going to get $50,000 in debt to get a $40,000 job. That's a per year. Like, what kind of return on investment is that? That is not the return that you're getting from starting these businesses or paying for different business advice from these people who've done it before. And that's another point, is that you need to be learning from actual teachers. Like, people, if you're looking to get into, say, I don't know, if you want to learn how to start an online course, I want to learn how to start an online course from somebody who's done it before and I've seen make a profit out of doing it. I don't want to learn from somebody who just is guessing at it and saying, hey, I think this will work. You should go try this out. Because more often than not, people who've done it before can tell you what mistakes that they've made, and they can advise you to not make those same mistakes. So now essentially you're paying for somebody else's mistakes, and you're going to get your return on investment in a fraction of the time that you would get if you by going the university route and going to $50,000 worth of student loan debt. And I think the last thing about self-education, once you have the knowledge, understand that one, it's going to be forever. Like, nobody can take that education away from you. And so because of that, that means you have the ability to pass that down to your lineage. You have that potential to continue to change the entire trajectory. Oh, that's terrible. To change the entire trajectory of your life. I mean, your lineage, pretty much, like your all of your generations to come. Like, literally, you can change, like I said, change the entire trajectory. You can pave a new path for your children and your children's children. And it's all about taking imperfect action at the end of the day, because most people will gain this thing called analysis paralysis, meaning that they start looking too much into it. They feel like they don't know enough. They feel like they haven't studied enough in order to actually get started with whatever business that they want to get into. But ultimately understand that even with us, like with the podcast or with any business that we started, we haven't known every single detail about that business before we got started with it. Even with the podcast, so go look at our first post that we had getting posted out there. If Alex hasn't archived them all by this point, yeah. But we didn't understand, like, the importance of branding, for instance. Like, we didn't have our credentials on every post that we had in the beginning. That's something that we learned over time, but that's something you learn just from experience. 5, and like going through 4, it. And 3, I mean, that's in 2, essence, that's what it's all about, 1. Is just taking imperfect action and just not being afraid to get started.
3 seconds over.
Ah, dang. I'm
no, but it's very important. Self-education will make you a millionaire, while formal education will make you a living. You got to understand that concept. Look, you're not getting nothing out of school, I promise, unless you're going to become a doctor. Or I'm not telling anyone not to go to school. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But most people, the ROI isn't going to be there. So just please be aware of that going into school when you make that decision. If you do go to school, if you just be aware of that. Self-education, you can gain a lot more, but society doesn't tell you that, which we know why, but that's another story for another day. Moving on to the fourth one. My fourth point is that you have to create multiple streams of income that are detached from your time. Very, 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 very key with financial freedom. Because like I say all the time, one stream of income is too close to none. If you have one stream of income, you have to really sit down and ask yourself, who's controlling your financial destiny? Is it you, or is it that one stream? For most people, it is their job, right? Most people at their job control their, financial future completely. And what happens if that one stream of income dries up? It's a wraps. It don't even have to be a job. You can be a business owner too. But if that's your only stream of income as a business owner, then, you still going to be SOL in the case that something happens. So you need to create multiple streams of income that are detached from your time, right? Most millionaires, we see it all the time, they have multiple streams of income. There's very few millionaires that, I would say that it's not really a coincidence that, millionaires can retire and literally stop working, right? How many millionaires do you see that have to work when they're 65 years old? Unless obviously you're doing something you love. Like maybe I'm talking besides, like, of course, actors and entertainers, they can continue working. They're still, that's active income that they're working for. If they stop working, then the money will stop coming, right? But besides those athletes and entertainers, I think you'll be hard pressed to find someone that's a millionaire and still gonna be working a job. Especially in an older age, because if you only make money while you're working for it, you're gonna work until you die. Shout out Warren Buffett. So very, very, very key to know. I advocate that everybody have a stream of income for every bill, right? My goal this year was to have 7 streams of income. 5 to 7 streams of income, right? Right now I have 6 streams of income, right? Well, this year I'm going to have had by the end of the year 6 streams of income, right? W-2, which is your active income. Rental properties, which is your passive income, also increases your net worth. So in a way, it's like that's also another kind of income too, because it's increasing your net worth every year as long as the value of the properties go up and the loan is getting paid down, right? Flipping houses, that's capital gains income. The trucking business, that's active income that's going to get converted to passive income at some point. The rental cars, that is passive income all the way. And the cleaning business that I recently started, that's passive income, or it's active, that's going to get converted to passive income, right? So that's, in a sense, what financial freedom means for me. Having those multiple streams of income that are always coming in, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I'm at, I'm getting paid from something, from somewhere every day. Because really think about it logically, if you spend money every day, you need to be making money every day. Why is money always leaving your bank account but not coming into your bank account? Seriously, why would I only want to get paid? Think about it for real. How many days of the year? Let's do the math real quick. How many days of the year do we get paid? If there's, in a normal work year, you get paid 26 paychecks, right? So 26 paychecks, that's 26 times you're going to get paid in a year. Maybe 27 if there's like a third week or something, right? 27 times out of 365 days, you only got paid. Now, mind you, all those other days of the year, money is leaving your bank account. But money is only coming in for 27 of those days. Make it make sense, bro. It don't make sense. It don't make no kind of sense to me. Money has to be coming into my bank account every day that I'm spending money. If I wasn't spending money, then 26 times a year, that's my guess. But I'm spending money, so it's not logical. But so that's why I need to be making money every day. I need to be, of those 6 streams, something need to be coming into my bank account every day. And that's why I said it was happening while I was on vacation. Mm-hmm. I got, it wasn't the first of the month, but I got 3 streams of income that came in while I was on vacation. That's what the essence of what multiple streams of income means for me. And that's why it's so important. So that's my fourth point. What do you got for me?
But no, that's very good info as well, though, because that's a very good point to make. 26 times you get paid per year, but you're just gonna spend 365 times per year. It doesn't make sense, does it? So no. I think people need to take that into consideration when they are looking at their job as their only source of income. So keep that in mind. But moving on to my point number 4 is bringing somebody along on the journey with you. This was what we were talking about before we actually started recording. But I think this is very important to point out because just like when I'm going to work and I look around, I'm usually the only black person there. Understand that when you're on a journey to financial freedom, that is a journey that is not very often traveled by the general population. So it's very important, especially not of color. So if you are going to be taking this journey, I think it's very important to try to bring somebody along the road with you that you really care about, because that's going to be somebody who you can there's actually 3 reasons I'm going to get into them. Number 1 reason is because it's going to make the entire journey much more enjoyable. I can't tell you the number of times that me and Alex have just got on here and just started talking back and forth just about anything that was going on in our businesses, and then we can just reflect our different gripes with each other or our different successes with each other. It's just somebody that you can talk to and about how your journey has been going, instead of just being a lone soldier, just doing everything on your own. It's just, like I said, it's going to make it much more enjoyable. And on top of that, they can be an accountability partner for you. That's my point number 2. Because I promise you, you would like, just because you have that why that's saying I want to achieve financial freedom at age 28, 29 or whatever, that doesn't mean that every single day you wake up, you're going to be 100% motivated to go get it today. But the beauty of having somebody along the road with you is that even though your day is going bad, probably 9 times out of 10, the other person's day would not be the same, as just as bad as yours. So that they can come back and provide a fresh perspective to you and be like, hey man, look, listen, bro, you sitting here financially, you sitting here not having to worry about a job because you have your house being paid for by your tenants. You have a rental car that's bringing you cash flow per month. You have a truck that's out there with a driver right now. You have a cleaning business that's bringing you in money. And you just be like, just take a step back and just be like, you know what? It's not even as bad as I thought it was because I was just having a bad day today. But you can take a step back and say it's all good because either one of us can have those days, and you just never know. So it's always good to have somebody else there to help you get that fresh perspective in. And then, I mean, that takes me to my last point is the perspectives, because at the same time, with being accountable, it's also important to have those different perspectives, because you may have a new idea one day and be like, you know what, we should build a prison. I think that'd be a good idea. We should build a prison and start taking in inmates our own self. And I can come in and be like, come on, dude. Like, I feel you, but how you got 13 other businesses going on right now, and 5 of them are infants, and 2 of them are like adolescents, and only 1 of them is like a full-grown adult, fully passive. I don't have time to build a whole prison right now. And you'd be like, oh, you know what? I see what you mean now. It's a new perspective. I'm glad you said that. And that, it doesn't have to be just be a partner. It can either it can be a spouse, it can be a family member, it can be anybody that can be your other person that you bring along on the journey. Because I'm also in a group message that and they said one time, without my wife, I would either be really rich or really poor. And speaks a lot of volumes, because honestly, when you're the only person, you're always gonna think that you're right with whatever decision you're making. And oftentimes, if you don't have another perspective or somebody else in your ear saying, "Hey, that may not be the best idea because did you think about this?" then you're probably not gonna take that into consideration if you're just by yourself. But that's the beauty of having somebody else with you along the journey, because they can provide that perspective. Likewise, you can do the same thing for them.
Yeah. That's very, very key. I honestly didn't even think of that. No. And by the way, that was a real conversation that we had. It was joking. I brought it up jokingly because I seen someone on a podcast was talking about the prison business. I was like, brother, I wasn't serious.
I understand that. I thought it was a good example though.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I'm not gonna start a prison. That I would be banished by the Black community if I started a prison. So moving on then, point number 5, my last point. Paying others to keep your time free. So this is more so once you achieve financial freedom. Also on the way there, you have to be implementing these things. But obviously, this is not like a first step kind of thing. This is more so once you get into the grind of it all, right? Because the thing about it is the whole reason you achieve financial freedom is to have free time, right? Freedom. That's the whole reason that we're on the journey, is to free your time up. So you want to make sure once you have these assets and these things that are, producing you income and cash flow, that somebody is managing them for you, someone that you trust, that is keeping your time free. You don't want to buy yourself a job. That's one thing that we say all the time is the worst thing you could possibly do. And certain, assets, certain businesses, it can be a job. So it's very important to set things up so that, you're, freeing up your time, because, excuse me, I like to say all the time that rich people, they're not okay, because a lot of rich people look at a lot of people look at rich people that have like maids and chefs and gardeners and those kind of things as like kind of like snobby or whatever the case may be. But they don't. I think that people look at it wrong. It's not. They don't have a maid and a chef because they're rich. They're rich because they have a maid and a chef, right? Because the maid and the chef and all those people keep their time free. I'm not telling you to go get a maid and a chef right now. I'm saying having a team around you that can take care of a lot of those things is very important, right? Even something as simple as an accountant or a bookkeeper, that kind of stuff is very important to have, because they're going to handle a lot of the things that you're not experts at, right? I'm a big advocate on the fact that you should be doing everything yourself first, just to become familiar with it. Like right now, I actually encourage people to have a bookkeeper, even for your personal life, if you don't know how to do it yourself, right? Because you need to have that perspective, that's another good reason to have that team. You get the third party perspective on a lot of things, right? Instead of you just being so singularly focused on it, like Marlon said earlier, you're gonna think you're right all the time. But having that other perspective come in, it's very important, right? So like I said, everyone should have. That's something that everyone could even do right now. Get a bookkeeper for your personal finance. It sounds illogical, but remember, doing things the way other people do it is just going to lead to having the same thing other people have. If you were serious about becoming financially free, that's something. If I saw someone that didn't have no assets but they had a bookkeeper, and I'd be like, dang, I dig it. I could rock with that. I mean, that's a good step in the right direction of being serious. I mean, I would question how much you're paying, but that's very important. So, right, having that, the property manager, if you have real estate, I don't want to deal. I know myself. I hate dealing with tenants. I hate dealing with the people aspect of business. Sorry, you can assassinate my character. I don't like it. That's just me being honest. I don't like dealing with tenants. I don't like dealing with truck drivers. I don't like dealing with the cleaners. I don't like dealing with the cleaners aren't that bad. Well, I take that back. I don't like dealing with cleaners. I don't like dealing with none of that kind of stuff, right? So for me, I know once I'm in that position, I'm gonna hire a director of operations for my trucking business, for my cleaning business, for any business I have, because I don't want to deal with the people. I want to let someone else book those loads. I want to let someone else handle all my bookings for my cleaning business. I want to let someone else do all the other stuff. I just want to make the money. That's all I want to do. Is that such a bad thing? I don't see a problem with it. So, like I said, very important to have that team around you, but you should be able to do all the stuff yourself first. I would never start a business and immediately hire something out, because you don't know if it's going to be done the right way. So very important. I want to free my time up so that I can only be performing high value tasks. I look at myself as my time is worth $1,000 an hour. I know my job is not going to pay me $1,000 an hour. So my business will pay me $1,000 an hour. And in order for me to be doing those $1,000 an hour tasks, my time needs to be free when not doing, remedial tasks such as, managing a tenant or booking clients or booking loads or anything like that. So very, very key, very important on this path to financial freedom is keeping your time free.
I can't emphasize enough how important every single point we've made is. Now, that one was so big. Like, I'm mad I don't even have that one now for myself, because I mentioned that in a previous talk too. Like, I was telling people that's pretty much getting rid of every task that you have in your business that's not making you that $1,000 an hour. Because in every business, there's many tasks that go into it, and there's probably only like one or two that's gonna make you the big money. Everything else is just remedial tasks that need to be done but don't really make you money. And those are the ones that are time wasters for you, as far as trying to one, free up your time, and then two, make you the most amount of money for the time you spend on it. And so that's a huge point. Like I said, I'm mad I didn't happen for myself. So that I like it though, because that allows you to have the time freedom along with the financial freedom. You don't want to have financial freedom, you have to work in order to attain it. Now it's like an oxymoron or something. It's like counterintuitive. Like, that's not even, you have all this money coming in, but you working day and night in order to have it. You're just not working a job. You bought yourself another job instead. Yeah, like, don't do that. So my last point, probably pretty quickly, is stay consistent. So now everything that I mentioned before, whether it was developing your why, writing down your end goal, acquiring the knowledge through self-education, finding an accountability partner, all of this stuff falls in line all of this stuff will come together, and they all remind you why you get started in the first place. And so if with all this in mind, like, everything is going to be telling you, hey, on the days that you're down, you're gonna think back and be like, okay, I have everything, all this stuff around me. I have my goals written down. I have my why in my head. I have the knowledge that I've acquired from studying. I have this person that's telling me every day, hey, we can do this. We started this for this reason. They're all telling you constantly, like, this is why we got started, and they're going to keep you on the path moving forward. Now it's your job to continuously remember these things and continuously implement those into your life, and just remind yourself every day of why you got started in the first place. Because most businesses fail, honestly, because they give up too soon, and they lose track of why they got started in the first place. That's why my number one thing to do is develop that why and make sure it's strong. Because if it's not, it's very easy to lose track of it, and then just like it gets lost along the way during your journey, and then you just end up going back to what you used to always do. And one thing I thought about, like just to like give a little analogy to this, was me when I was at Stephen F. Austin. Like in order to have a 4.0 for one semester, that's already like a big accomplishment for people. They're like, okay, yeah, it's cool, I did it for one semester. But now what about the next semester? Now you'd be like, oh, nah, bro, that was too much work. I ain't doing that again. So I guess your end goal may have just been to get it for one semester. For me, I just like, one thing I pride myself on is consistency. Like I want to be able to do something good repetitively. That's the people who separate themselves from the average people. And so for me to have done it for 7 straight semesters, like every semester while I was there, that's when you start really becoming noticed and start having different acknowledgments and accomplishments along with it, because people are going to cheer for you for doing it one time and be like, yeah, good job, way to go, big gold star. But if you can do it consistently, those are people that start getting paid. Like people will pay you to do stuff that they don't want to do. And that's that falls into business, that falls into everything. Like the 4.0 is just an example. But if you start implementing a business that is like that has longevity, like take Amazon for instance. They're able to grow their business without bound because they are providing a service that people enjoy consistently, repetitively for years and years and years. Now they reap the benefits of that. You may be mad in the capitalist society, but they are literally providing a service that everybody is using. Same thing with Apple. Everybody, like Alex's favorite thing to see is a tweet for somebody talking about how they hate capitalism, but then it has at the end sent from iPhone. Like he can't seeing that because you're literally feeding into the reason that they're so successful and you're still mad at them. But like I said, people will pay you to do things that they don't want to do, especially if you have to do it consistently. And so that's really how I want to sum it all up, is just saying stay consistent and continuously remember why you got started in the first place.
Man, great point. I think that's very key, and it gets you can forget that too, but that's a very important principle with everything. So I think that's a great way to tie this all together. So great point. I'm glad you mentioned that too. Man, we pretty much, I think we hit every single thing that is very important. One way or another, we talked about it. So this episode could probably be like if someone asked me, what episode should I listen to? This will be one of the ones I could point them to, just in terms of the totality of what it is we're all about. This is the essence of what it is. Financial freedom, how you achieve financial freedom, what it takes to achieve financial freedom, how it looks achieving financial freedom. All of it is encompassed here. So I'm really glad we got to talk about this and, do it in the format that we did, because I think it allowed us to each hit on everything separately, one way or another, like I said. So Great episode. Is there anything you want to add before we close?
I don't think we could look at either person's list and say, oh no, you really don't need that. That's nothing major.
Yeah.
So I think everything that we said today is definitely something people can take heed to and literally apply to their life if they are looking to achieve financial freedom.
Yes, that's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can find out more info about us on Twitter @the Monopolizers, or on IG @Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on here that'll keep you engaged, so be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.